Gather round, all good people. Come closer, my dear friends, and listen to this tale of the Lone Knight and the royal Sir Manfred. Long ago, in a kingdom filled with good and filled with plenty, there lived a king and his knights who serve as the background for this story. For it's from these top knights that we find a knight with a big head. A knight with no war experience, known simply as Sir Manfred.
Yes, indeed, that's me. That's me. Yes, indeed. Sir Manfred is me. That's me. That's me.
Fully trained as a soldier, he sat atop a white horse. Sir Manfred guarded the entrance to the castle, which was a trouble-free course. Now, Sir Manfred seemed like a knight, despite his unibrow and handlebar mustache. But when he rode past the real knights, you guessed it, they just mocked him and they laughed. Did you see that guy?
What a goofball.
Yeah, what a major disaster. For Sir Manfred was brave and Sir Manfred had might, but he was born of royalty, so he didn't need to fight.
I just wanted to say you're doing a great job and keep up the good work.
On this day in May, or is it now June gloom, never mind, let's follow Sir Manfred, the royal buffoon. Our story takes place on this cobblestone road, where Sir Manfred will enter, but he won't be alone. There's Sir Manfred, his horse, a preacher, and a baker. And to top it all off, there's a cobble road maker. And repairing the road was the task now at hand, for the cobble road maker was the road making man. And the preacher did stop by the side of the road to preach to the road maker in his preaching type robe. And the baker did stop for a little how and why, because he knew the road maker, and he always said, "Hello, howdy, hi." And who should approach as they spoke on the level? It was Sir Manfred the warlord, while speak of the devil. "Here he comes," the baker said, feeling rightly amused. "Why, it's a horse-riding donkey, or an equestrian mule." "Salutations, salutations," said Sir Manfred on high, as the three bowed their heads and he entered the light. Sir Manfred dismounted and stood on his heels. He pulled his sword free and loosened his shield. "Oh my," said the preacher with slight mockery, "why your shield is so shiny and your armor so clean." "Such a fine horse you have," the road maker then said. "If I've seen another like it, then God strike me dead." "And your look is quite sharp," said the baker with glee. "With all that silver upon you, I am struck with envy." All this he did savor, each and every compliment. So Sir Manfred just stood there and continued to vent. "I also have on me brand new silver boots, and hanging from my saddle is a new silver lute. And did you not notice my standard and staff? Emblazoned on the silk is a muscular stag. Everything that is on me was shined with my sword, my shield and my headgear, and my water-filled gourd." "Well, it's obvious to all that you are ready for battle." That's what the preacher said, with a slight sarcastic cackle. "Indeed I am, and it's plain to see that I'm fully geared up to take on you three." "No way, not now," the road maker then moaned. "I have the endless task all around me in fixing the roads." "I can't fight you either," the preacher explained. "Why, a pacifist can't harm others now. That's just insane. I'm just a baker, from whom it was said, all I know is about chocolate and baking fine bread." "Then is there no one around brave enough to fight me? Am I still the greatest warrior? Oh yes, it must be." The knights that did listen shook their heads with grief, or shrugged their tired shoulders, or grinded their teeth. Though everyone nearby was easily annoyed, Sir Manfred continued to badger like a kid with a toy. Come now, you must use that long bread to block my broadsword and protect your baker's head." The baker did flinch at Sir Manfred's broad swipes, as he held out the bread roll without giving a fight. With a slice and a chop, one here and one there, Sir Manfred cut the bread roll down until there was nothing but air. Well now, did you all see my skill and my talent as I used my broadsword to cut down that baguette? The three bowed their heads and whispered agreements, while tucked in their hearts was nothing but grievance. And then from out yonder, unexpected to spy, something emerged in the distance that caught everyone's eye. From far down the road, from out a thick mist, there appeared a knight and his horse that no one could miss. That knight did not ride that horse made for war. Instead he marched beside it and led it forward. At first he was dark, and then he was gray. No metal there glistened. Was it a knight from the grave? As the knight traveled further, as the knight approached closer, the preacher made the sign of the cross, as he would in his cloister. When the knight was much closer, where all could then see, many wounds could be counted from where he did bleed. And his horse did not gallop, but it paced with a steam, with a dead lad upon it, slung over the seat. And the knight as he came, approached with no shame. His head was held high, though he was wounded and lame. The knight had upon him the features of youth, but he was drenched with experience that spoke only the truth. The knight wore no helmet, but was draped in a hood that was stuck up all over with things from the woods. His face was clean shaven, but had cuts from a knife. It was spotted with blood from the taking of one's life. His shield was slung over on the side of his horse. It was slashed and half broken, poked with arrows and worse. His water was not kept in a polished up gourd, but his drink did leak often from the paunch of a boar. No instrument was there, nor music to warm. The only song the knight played was from his battlefield horn. There wasn't a staff, nor a standard about. There were no decals either, nor symbols of clout. His sword did sway slightly as it hung at his side. With half of it missing, it was only knee-high. The knight did wear armor, but only a bit here and there. Most of the metal had fallen during scenes of warfare. The armor he wore was all but gut-stained, spotted with the blood of his enemies, the mud, and the rain. And what of that lad, as mentioned before? He was marked all about with the struggles of war. The body of that boy was bloodied but fair. He had died from an arrow that was still hanging there. As the knight carried through, he squinted and grimaced. He looked each in their eyes, so he was sure they had noticed. Sir Manfred, his horse, the preacher, and baker were all taken aback, even the road maker. The four stared ahead with wide eyes and held breath, while the low knight walked further and almost had left. "Say there, Sir Manfred," the baker began. "Weren't you looking for a battle? Well, there goes your man." "Indeed," said the road maker as he shuffled his feet. "That is a soldier with war experience, if I ever did see." "I beg you do not bother him," the preacher reproached, "because that knight is much different than the tales of old." But the baker was bullied by the royal Sir Manfred, and demons of vengeance danced round his manhead. If Sir Manfred poses no challenge, then Sir Manfred is bogus. He brags all day long, as if you haven't noticed. "What's this, I hear you say?" Sir Manfred began. "A challenge for me? Am I not the man? For I have been trained by the greatest of hosts. I can't help but brag loudly, or embellish and boast. For I am a true knight, and now it is settled. I will challenge that lone knight, and test his own mettle." "You there, lone knight, will you stop for a moment? Will you do battle with me, and win yourself tokens? Glory is not for me, and neither is pride. The only tokens for me are the tokens from inside." And with that quickly said, with that quickly done, the knight kept on walking, marching west towards the sun. But the baker did not stop, and he delivered a whisper. He said to Sir Manfred, "That was a disser." For being put down, or put on the spot, Sir Manfred shouted out quickly, "You there, knight, stop!" The lone knight did stop, and stood in his place, without turning his shoulders, without showing his face. "What's this? You won't battle with the likes of me? Are you too scared or troubled to fight me, the enemy? It's not that, I assure you, the knight then said. I'm on a journey to the mountains to bury my dead. Here is my squire, who was destined to be a knight in shiny armor, a knight just like me. But had I not needed those weapons of war, he would never have fallen, and now he's no more. Oh, so bad, oh, so sad, Sir Manfred then mocked. Your story is quite tragic, but I am not shocked. If you had been trained among the likes of me, victory would be yours now, and not this tragedy. But the knight was not moved by this meaningless taunting, and he stood perfectly still without ever any wanting. I am tired right now, and badly quite beaten. I have little to drink, and I've gone 2 days without eating. I can hear in your voice that you yearn for war. Long ago I was like that, but not now, not no more. Gone are those days when war had its glory, because that song does change each and every waking morning. Why do you treat war like a game to be played, when the only winning move is not to play the game? So remember this well, remember to tell, for the poem I will speak here will be spoken right now. The pompous battle for pride, the light-hearted battle for glory, feeling at home with war and battle is reserved strictly for the unholy. Then the knight started forward and continued his walk, but Sir Manfred was not finished with his warlike talk. Sir Manfred drew his sword out and raised it head high, then brought it down quickly in the blink of an eye. The blade of the sword came down with a crash, but it clipped the knight's shoulder and left only a slash. And the preacher, the road maker, the horse and the baker, each widened their eyes as if seeing their maker. They covered their mouths, they took a step back, they wore an expression of surprise while being taken aghast. But that knight did not wince, that knight did not flinch, and instead of walking further, he never moved, not even an inch. Then quick as he might, fast as he may, the knight drew his sword out and turned Manfred's way. Though his sword was badly beaten, and it was only half length, the wind blew behind the blade, following all the knight's strength. The sword's cut off end pressed against Manfred's nose. Had that sword been its full length, well, I'll tell you, only God knows. Ow, 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 my nose, ow, 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 ow. Everyone watched as farce came to force. They thought Manfred would die now, even Manfred's loyal horse. But that knight did not cut up all of Sir Manfred to hell. He only said this to him, "You there, live well." Then the knight turned around and holstered his sword. He covered the dead, then guided his horse. The knight went on forward, but before he was gone, Sir Manfred tried once again to get the job done. This time he was held back by the preacher and baker, and was held at one leg by the cobble road maker. You cannot win against a knight so great as the knight we just saw now, who carries much weight. The preacher continued to preach in his way. Count yourself very lucky that you live this very day, for one must open their eyes to the reality before them. If one cannot do that, then their eyes will be opened for them. And you cannot win against that knight over there. Let him go, leave him be. Believe me, it's fair. So the four stood together and continued to watch as that knight walked away and then was suddenly gone. Now with all of that done and with all of that said, ends this tale of the Lone Knight and the Royal Sir Manfred.